Hey guys, coming at you today with some keto box cake mixes. I want to see how they stack up to my homemade Lancaster sour milk cake recipe. So let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, thanks for joining me. My name's Alicia and I'm a sous chef with a sweet tooth. And here we make delicious pastries, many from my time as a pastry chef. And my goal is to make the best keto desserts possible. So if you enjoy this content, please hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up. Coming at you every Saturday with new keto desserts. Today, a little cake battle. We have 3 different mixes, 2 of which I found at Walmart. And then I thought I had to throw in a little wild card on Amazon find. And High Key actually does not have a vanilla cake mix, but I found a lemon cake mix. So we're gonna test that against my sour milk cake. So this is gonna take a while, so let's get started. First up is the Duncan Hines Keto Vanilla Cake Mix. I'm definitely interested to see how this one tastes. It is 4 grams of net carbs for 1/10 of it. So it's 5 for 1/8. I'm going to do everything in eighths because it makes it sound better when you cut something smaller, it's less carbs. So I'm doing everything into eighths, but I'm going to put up the nutritional facts and the ingredients on the screen for you. The cost of this cake is only $4.95 at Walmart, and adding in the eggs and oil, it's $5.58. So it's 69 cents a portion for 1/8 of this cake. All these cakes only make 1 8-inch round. I'd rather have 2 8-inch rounds or 24 cupcakes when I buy my cake mixes. Because I always forget and buy one and then I'm like, crap, gotta go back and buy another. Same thing with the gluten-free cake mixes. First ingredient is erythritol, and then it also has almond, coconut flour, inulin, and modified tapioca starch, and natural flavors. So we're gonna get started on this one. Luckily, they all bake at 350, so that's not gonna be a problem. But this one, so it says grease pan and line bottom with parchment paper, or just butter the pan well. So I just buttered the pan well and we'll see what happens. I already weighed out most of my ingredients and got them ready to go. So this one's only 3 eggs, 1/2 cup of water, and we gotta melt 3 tablespoons of coconut oil. Just says to mix everything well, about 50 strokes. I did time how long it took me to get ingredients together and stuff, but it's very negligible amounts of time because, I mean, pre-done cake mixes don't take long, so I'm just interested to see how thick these guys are compared to mine and how they taste. No lumps. Pour it in. Now, does it say to spread it out? Spread into pan. Yep. This is where my offset spatula would come in handy. Okay, popping this in the oven. It says 26 to 30 minutes and to test with a toothpick. So we're gonna pop this in and we'll get on to our next cake. Okay, our first cake is almost out of the oven. I didn't want to have any variables that would mess up a cake, so I don't want to bake them at the same time because I know sometimes they bake unevenly and I don't want to mess anything up. This is a test. Next, we're going to be doing the Birch Benders cake. This cake can make an 8 or 9-inch or 10 to 12 cupcake. So this one was $5.98 at Walmart, and then plus the ingredients, which is oil, eggs, and water, it comes to $7.34 for the whole cake. So that's 91 cents for 1/8 of this package. And this one has 22 total carbs, 3 fiber, and 14 grams of sugar alcohols for 1/8 of this slice, which I think is a little bit high for me. And it's still 5 grams of net carbs for 1/8 of it. And this one is almond flour, erythritol, coconut flour, cassava starch, and stevia and monk fruit. So it has 3 different kinds of sweeteners in it. This one is pretty easy, just mix it all together. This one says grease pan or line with parchment. I lined it with parchment and greased it, which I guess I wasn't supposed to do. I did it automatically because that's what I do with my cakes. So you just put everything in there, mix all this together. Just says until blended. You can feel the graininess. They must have used granular erythritol because you can like hear the sugar granules in there. So this one is much thinner than the Duncan Hines one. Interested to see how this one turns out. This one bakes a lot longer than the Duncan Hines too. The Duncan Hines was 26 minutes. This one's 33 minutes. So I'll be back when both of these cakes are out of the oven, and we'll get on to our next keto cake mix. Our first cake is out of the oven. Now the Birch Bender still has some time, but this keto Duncan Hines cake says to cool completely in pan on wire rack for 15 minutes. Remove the cake from the pan. So it's been 15 minutes. So moment of truth, this one I just greased. It doesn't say to, see, I want it to come out, so it doesn't say to do this, but just as a little assurance that it's gonna come out, because I'm worried it's not. This baked a little while longer. I started with 26 minutes. I put it in for another 3 because it was gooey. I used a toothpick, but it did what my cake did the first time when I baked it, and I didn't bake it enough. It kind of sunk in the middle. So I'm hoping this is baked all the way. Okay, it's out. Stuck a little bit, but not too bad. Seems spongy. I'll be back when the Birch Benders comes out of the oven, and we'll mix up our high key batter. Okay, so the Birch Benders is out of the oven. It took 35 minutes, but it looks a lot like my yellow cake. It's definitely firm. Doesn't say how long to cool it in the pan, but I'm gonna cool it until I can touch it, and then I'll flip it out. On to the high key cake mix. Now, I just realized it says cake and muffin mix, but it doesn't say any directions on if you wanna make muffins. It just says to put it in a greased 8x8 pan. So that's what we're gonna do, but I wonder how many muffins it makes. This one is the only one with the directions that it doesn't say to just add everything. It says do eggs and vanilla extract and then mix in melted butter. This one has more eggs, 4 eggs, a little extra ingredient in the vanilla extract. This one is for 1/12 of the package. I'll put the, oh, there was a packet in there. See, didn't know that, didn't see it. No. So 1/12 of this package they say is 2 net carbs, but if you work it out to 8, it is still 5 grams of net carbs. It says mix until well combined. Ugh. And this one also has almond flour. This one has tapioca fiber in it. This one uses erythritol, allulose, monk fruit, and stevia. So quadruple sweeteners. Really hard to mix without the butter. Okay, add in your melted butter. If it's anything like their pancakes, it's gonna be really thick. Again, all these have almond flour, and that's why I kind of like my cake mix, because there's no almond flour, no nuts, so anyone can have it. So far, the Duncan Hines was the only one that was really thick. Like mine, these are all runny and don't really need to spread them out too much. I didn't even think about it. It doesn't even really smell that lemony. A little bit of lemon, I don't know, a little bit. This one takes the least amount of time at only 18 minutes. While this is baking, I'm gonna prep the rest of my stuff. I gotta get the Birch Benders out of the pan, clean it, parchment them for my cakes. And then we'll be back to start making mine. I got so excited about mixing that last cake, I forgot to mention the price on that. So I found it on Amazon, and they also have it on the High Key website. It's about the same price, but you can get like coupons and discounts, but it was $10.97 on both sites. So plus the butter and the vanilla and the eggs, it was $12.05 for a whole batch of that cake. Now for an eighth of it, instead of the 1/12 that it says to cut it into, it's $1.50 a portion. This one is one of the more expensive ones. I want to see if it's worth spending that extra money for that cake mix, because the other two I found at Walmart. And then most of my ingredients you can find at Walmart also, except for the Isopure whey protein. I get it online. The Amazon link will be below. But it's the best that I found to bake with, and it cuts your carbs way down. Now for my cake, I did 2 8-inch rounds. I meant to cut this in half, and I totally forgot. I have this recipe pretty much memorized, so I just started dumping and weighing out all my ingredients. And then I remembered. I figured out the macros and the cost for just 1 8-inch round cake and having an eighth of it. For an eighth of 1 8-inch round, it's 58 cents a portion. It only costs $4.69 for 1 8-inch round. And my cake, 1 8-inch round, only has 10 total carbs and 2.75 grams of fiber, 5 grams of erythritol, and 2.25 grams of net carbs for an eighth of that cake. So if it was on a package, it would say 2 grams of net carbs. I'm not going to go through the steps of making it because I've already done this in a recipe video, so I'll link that up there for you. For mine, I figured out by weight what the ingredients are, and the first ingredient's eggs, then the milk, then the butter, and then the 2 kinds of flour, and then erythritol. So mine has a lot less sweetener in it than the other cakes. If you want to sweeten it up, if you're not going to use like a super sweet frosting, if you're just going to do like a lightly sweetened whipped cream, you can add some drops of either vanilla stevia or liquid stevia. It only took me about 10 minutes to get all my ingredients together. It's because I weigh them out. I don't find a scoop and try and measure and all that stuff. It's super easy just to weigh everything out, and that's how I do it. It's much easier that way. It took me about 10 minutes to get everything prepared. Okay, my cakes are all measured out and in the pan. They gotta go in the oven for about 22 to 26 minutes, and we'll be back when the high key should be out of the oven any minute. Okay, so I checked this at 18 minutes and it was completely gooey inside, so I set it for another 3. Came out clean, but it seems very soft in the middle. So we'll see how this turns out. Set it aside to cool. We'll be back when my cakes are out of the oven. Okay, my 2 cakes are out of the oven. Like I said in the video and in the instructions, toothpick is not always reliable. Like, I'm worried about this cake here. I actually baked it for a minute longer than the directions said, 21 instead of 20. And it came out clean, but it sunk in the middle. Mine, you just press on it and it's firm. That's how you know it's done. So now my 2 have to cool, and I'm gonna get them popped out of the tins. And we'll be back in a little bit to try all these guys. Okay, we got all our cakes here and they're all pretty cool. I want to test how well you can slice these in half, because I don't know about you, but I like at least 2 layers in my cake. And I want to kind of test how crumbly they are and if their structure is good enough to actually handle. I had a hard time getting the Duncan Hines off the rack, and it did kind of crack a little bit in the middle, and I'm wondering if it's still not quite cooked all the way. And I cooked that for 29 minutes and it said 26 to 30. And I tested it with a toothpick and it came out clean. I tested it a couple more times after I pulled it out and it was still clean. But we're gonna start with the birch benders here. See how this guy came out. He looks a lot like mine. Very moist. So we'll take 1/8 of this guy. So it's going to be double the thickness if you want to actually pair. My cake is just as thick as the birch benders, so you're getting the same amount of cake pretty much. So you're getting a pretty substantial piece of from the birch benders for 1/8 of that. Now for the Duncan Hines. Whoop. Yeah, that one doesn't stay together so well. It does look like it's cooked inside. It's just way softer than the birch benders. Might be a little bit doughy, so it might have been able to cook a little bit longer. But like I said, mine's the same way. If you do a toothpick, it comes out clean most of the time, but you gotta press down on it to make sure it's firm. So that's a pretty decent size. It's the same net carbs as the birch benders. Now this guy's a little bit different. Yep, he's raw in the middle. I tested with a toothpick. So technically we only have a 1/16 of these cakes, so we'll do 16 of this one. So it's a bummer that it's raw. I can't use it for anything. Eat a corner piece to test the taste, texture. Will it come out? Okay. So it's about the same thickness as these guys if I were to have cut it in half. Definitely looks moist and delicious. I just wish the inside was cooked. And then onto my cake. Mine is nice and moist and airy. So we'll take 1/8 of this guy. Mine just stays together with, I just put a little bit of xanthan gum. That's all you need to keep it together. Mine definitely isn't as yellow because I actually have less eggs in my cake than these other guys. So mine's gonna be less eggy tasting. Now it's time to try all these guys. Luckily they all kind of look different, so I won't confuse them at all. We'll start with the birch benders. I was expecting that to be way sweeter than it is. It has good fluffy texture. Pretty good though. I have the graininess of the almond flour. It's another reason I don't use almond flour is because I can like feel it and taste it. I'm not a huge fan. This one is super moist. Duncan Hines, which Duncan Hines is my go-to cake mix for making cakes if I'm making regular ones. I'm gonna need some water. It only has 3 tablespoons of coconut oil in it, so it has the least amount of fat added to it, but it seems like it has a lot more fat. This tastes like a yellow cake. That's crazy. Wow. I bet it's the natural flavors. It's that chemical that makes it taste like a regular cake. It's delicious. So if you're in a pinch, it's the cheapest besides my homemade one. And it tastes like a vanilla cake. Crazy. The high key lemon. Definitely bake this longer than you think you need to. That is good. It has the gumminess that it had in the brownie mix too. I think it's this one has tapioca fiber in it. You can definitely tell it has that in it. It has like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like, it keeps it from falling apart probably is why it's there. But it has like a chew to it almost. Like most cake would just like kind of fall apart in your mouth. It's really good though. Pretty sweet. So far, the Duncan Hines tasted the sweetest out of all of them. Now for my cake. Mine just tastes like a normal cake. It's definitely not as sweet. Like I said, I put super chocolatey frosting on it, so you don't really need the cake to be as sweet. But literally just 20, 30 drops of liquid stevia in the whole batter, and you'd have it nice and sweet. It's really soft and moist. It doesn't have as much vanilla flavor. Like I said, the stuff that they come up with in a lab is always going to taste better. If you want to use the really expensive vanilla, it'll probably taste better. But I do so much testing that I just have some crappy imitation. But if you use some like really good Madagascar vanilla, it would be delicious in this. For an at-home cake, it took me about 16 minutes, so it's twice as long, but you got 2 cakes. It is a sour milk cake. It has buttermilk in it. You can kind of taste the tang of the buttermilk. It is really good though. So all in all, there are a lot of good options out there. It is pretty much up to you what you're willing to spend. Like I said, the high key is a little bit more expensive, but it is delicious, and it's a lemon cake, which if you made like lemon muffins, I bet they'd be really good. The Duncan Hines does have like the most, they say, dirty keto ingredients with having inulin, the modified tapioca starch in it, and the natural flavors if you avoid those. But man, it tastes just like a Duncan Hines vanilla cake. It's pretty crazy how good they did on this. Cook it longer than you think you need to because it is a little bit underbaked. The Birch Benders definitely has the cleanest ingredients. Like I said in the pancake video, they're very simple, good ingredients. And this cake mix isn't that expensive, but I'm really surprised it's not that sweet. But it's really good texture. All these have good texture and good taste. Mine is a little bit cheaper and less carbs. So in conclusion, it's really great that we have all these options now. I hope you guys found this review helpful. I know I've been wanting to know if these are any good. So I'm glad I got to try them and try them for you guys. If you click on, I got some Amazon links down below. I'll have all these linked there. Like I said, I did find 2 of them at Walmart though for pretty cheap. Along with the link to my blog posts highlighting all the different cake mixes. Subscribe if you enjoy, and as always, I'll be back with many more keto dessert recipes. Bye guys!